Hello, and welcome to the For We Are Many podcast. My name's Rob.
And I'm Trisha.
And we will be your hosts today. That barking you hear is my neighbor's dog because they don't care about anybody but themselves.
And this dog has been going for like 20 fucking minutes.
Like since I came out here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. As I'm sure most of you are aware, it is our 1-year anniversary stream today. And we're going to start off with a clip that we recorded the other night. We're going to let Sterling talk a little bit about, reflections on the January 6th insurrection. Oh my God. I'm going to lose my shit. Give me just a second. I'm pulling up the video. I apologize.
I'll take my seat a moment. For y'all that can't see, I'm stuffing my face over here. I'm fucking hungry.
They probably can't hear you because you're way over there. It won't let me fucking play the video? Are you kidding me? Wait. Hold on. We would like to welcome back for our anniversary special, the one, the only, Lord Sterling.
Hello.
Hola.
I'd like to welcome you guys back as well.
Thanks.
Back on my computer.
Yeah, it's been a while. You don't like us anymore.
Not true. You just never hop in the video chats for the Third Eye Spies group, Rob.
This is true.
I was on Sterling's computer yesterday.
They don't really end up anywhere productive. Well, it depends on how you measure progress. But
right. What do you deem productive? Because I found the conversation productive. Maybe
yes.
not like work-wise or something.
I mean, yeah. There's no application here outside of what was it again?
So much fuckery. But dude, it's fucking dope to have you back.
Yes. Dope to be back.
Fuck yeah.
So I don't know how many of our current viewers have been here since day one, but our first ever live shenanigans were kind of talking shit on January 6th.
Yeah.
We started a group call and we were all watching the coverage, and then it was just kind of like, why don't we just hit live?
Right.
So
and then it was a cartoon for like 3 hours.
Pretty much. Like, what
awesome.
kind of cosplay and revolution shit are we seeing? Wait, they're sniffing shoes.
I mean, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
It was a perfect shit show to kick off our show.
Can we get audio on that?
Yeah, all I hear is sword fighting.
Oh, Don.
Oh, that would be my brother watching The Walking Dead.
So I don't know, like seeing this just reminds me that a week later, chairman of the New African Black Panther Party
you guys
woke up to the FBI knocking on his door asking if
Biden called for
that's so distracting. Hold on. There we go.
I forgot Don had red hair.
Yeah, me too, honestly. Like, have you seen a single person of color in all of this footage? Like,
No.
do you recall seeing a single, like, large black man? Do you recall seeing Black Panthers on January 6th?
No. To be fair, I'd be surprised if there's even any dark white people in there.
Yeah.
That would be right. It's very clearly not Panther activity happening there.
They would have had a plan, first of all.
Right. And it wouldn't have involved sniffing shoes or stealing podiums.
But the reality of it, though, the reality of it, in my opinion, is that there never would have been the opportunity for the Black Panther Party to even make it up the steps.
Right. Again, there's that veteran protest. None of them made it to the steps. Right.
Anybody on the left who's ever protested anywhere around DC has been immediately met with hundreds of fucking, armed guards, cops, or fucking National Guard, shit like that.
Right.
And it's like, they let the MAGAs walk right in the fucking front door.
And they still chose to have their little soiree on live TV.
Right.
And you're telling me that the intelligence communities don't work for
selfies.
these people too? Or don't protect these people too?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
And, well, I don't know. I mean, January 6th was kind of a pivotal role in my, like, radicalization. I guess, like, that's like when I realized in a very real sense that, as much as I hate this terminology, that it was us versus them. Like, I don't know. Seeing this shit play out and seeing the lack of response from the feds is just mind-blowing. And we talked in that initial stream about, like, what it looked like when Black Lives Matter protested at the Capitol. And they weren't on the steps, but there was hundreds of National Guard troops, in full battle rattle guarding the steps. But then Trump supporters go there and there's fucking, like, 6 riot cops? I mean,
yeah,
fuck. And said riot cops were taking selfies with the people storming the building, all chummy and shit. Like, what's up, bro?
And then see the narrative, though. The narrative that switched coming from the imaginary left, at least portrayed by the TV, right? Now they're insurrectionists. We're using words like that in a bad way, right? Insurrectionists are no longer cool. They're bad. The usurpers, the traitors. Yeah. I mean, it worked for both, right? The right was like, oh, yeah, we could do this and kind of get away with it. And the left was like, oh, yeah, now they look like the bad guy. They already looked like the bad guy. Now they look like the worst guy. It was wild. It was wild. And I think it was theater. I think it was allowed to happen.
Yep. I agree with you.
I mean, ultimately, I think all of us do. And I mean, so the right now holds Ashley Babbitt as a martyr, which obviously where I paused our Facebook feed that, we're going to dive into in random spots a couple times just to, like, see what were we saying then versus, like, how is our perspective on it grown? And what's really changed? And I don't really think anything has.
Me neither. But there's still idiots out there claiming that it was Antifa doing it. And I'm like, Antifa means anti-fascist and Trump's a fascist. What makes you think that anti-fascists would be out there protesting on behalf of a fascist? That's not how anything works.
Well, and I mean, not to mention, and I think that we talked about this in that initial stream too, like, Trump was such a coward about it. He riled these people up, right, who had merch printed saying Civil War, January 6th, 2020, or whatever.
Yeah.
2021, sorry.
That was just their wet dream, though.
Right, exactly. But, like, Trump riled up this crowd and said, I'm going to march with you down to the Capitol. And then he went back to the White House and watched the shit on Fox News. Like, you can't make this up.
Well, they locked him down. He was kind of grounded after a certain point, right? They kind of grounded him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they reminded him though, or he at least may have realized they've killed presidents before, right? So he's causing a lot of shit.
And don't go piss the CIA off.
There are still bosses above your bosses.
All right.
Well, and I mean, if we really get down to it, the 1% are pulling the strings of everything behind the fucking curtain anyway. And it's been that way.
This was a really good try. This was a really good try. We got to tell you that. We've been watching you a while, Mr. Trump, and I got to say I'm a fan. But, you know, my boss says we can't let this go. So I'm really going to have to lock you in your room. Okay?
You're getting a timeout.
Oh my God.
In the corner and think about what you did. Fuck.
So I do want to come right back into this video right where I cut it. Because like this is as they're working on getting in. And Sterling pointed out before we started recording that the window that they got in was plexiglass.
Live pictures right now.
Live pictures, you guys. Look at these bewitched pictures.
Let's take some live pictures of what's happening on Capitol Hill right now, the state of the protests. This is live.
So here's another thing. Okay, so when Black Lives Matter, you know, starts a few fires because people are rightfully pissed off, they are called rioters. But this mayonnaise ass crowd can just waltz into the fucking Capitol and still be called protesters.
They were seditionists the next day, though.
This is true. This is true.
They still made it in the building. Also, it's just wild over here and over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Every time I see clips of this stuff, I see like, you know, the bulk box at the grocery store that just says assorted crackers. But sure, let's keep blaming it on BLM.
They were in costume, Trisha.
I know, right? They were wearing whiteface.
The beautiful door, and when photographers are well positioned there, they get the most magnificent Inauguration Day shots from that vantage point.
Right. So
you remember when these same people were saying that they were going to disrupt Biden's inauguration? What happened to that?
They pushed out.
Which is sort of unnecessary because there's steps everywhere.
But like seriously,
they were only paid for 6 hours. They were only
it's like a bunch of
so like I just want to point out again how fucking mayonnaise this crowd is. And they showed up at Chairman Shaka Zulu's house a week later asking him where he was on January 6th. And the reason that I know about this is because this man pulled out his phone and was just like, yo, these motherfuckers are asking me where I was on January 6th. Like, the Black Panthers would ever have anything to do with that MAGA motherfucking bullshit, you know? Like,
dude. Right. It's just like, what are y'all smoking? Trying to, you know, even ask the Panthers what involvement they had. You see who's there, right?
This was
the QAnon shaman. He was there.
Oh God, that guy.
He's from Arizona.
I know.
Look, yeah. I'm sorry, but he's entertaining. He's really entertaining.
To be fair, yeah, like he was the most fun part of this shit show. Seeing his fucking fool ass out there dressed like that and all like, oh, and shit. Like, what? You
sold it, sir. You sold it.
Yeah. Like, dude, I want to know what drugs he was on and where we can get some.
Yeah. Yeah.
From what I hear, he doesn't live far away.
You're right.
Hold on.
was stolen from us. It was a landslide election, and everyone knows it, especially the other
It's
side.
disabled.
But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We don't want anybody hurt. It's a very tough period of time. There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened, where they could take it away from all of us, from me.
The
from
look
you,
on your
from our
face up
country.
in the corner here
This
says
was
it
a
all, Sterling.
fraudulent
You're just
election.
like,
He's trying to embolden them.
People.
I was just chiefing down, trying to smoke some sanity into my life. Like, what?
We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You
Oh my
see the
God.
you're
way
very
No.
fucking special.
Short bus special.
so bad and so evil. I know how you feel.
Did you
The way
say
he
so
said
evil?
Go home
Law
and
and
go
Order
home
just
in
made my
peace.
brain keep replaying that dun
Once again,
dun.
the
It's at the
president
beginning
making
of the
substantiated
Law
I
and Order.
can't believe that I clicked a random spot and got Trump's live address. Why do I feel like the algorithm was like, you have to watch this?
We know what you want by now, Rob.
Oh my God. You know, at least he could put sentences together, kind of.
Yeah.
At least he didn't. Okay, so like,
They were
if this
the
is
good
like
sentences, the best
a
sentences.
year recap, you know, like I have to find that video of Biden sleeping at the climate summit. If I could type, that would help. I apologize that I am bringing up Fox News for this, but
Oh, we're gonna get pulled.
We do not own this footage. We are using this for educational and comedic purposes.
maybe if I like mute it.
Right?
Why is it so gritty?
Right?
Why do
Sounds
I
not
feel like he was
necessary,
looking
not
right at
no.
me? He looked right over at me, Rob. He's like Sterling. His beady little eyes. Oh, they're closed. No, there he. Look at that.
Dude, that is the old man falling asleep in church right there. Oh, I wasn't sleeping. I was resting my eyes.
No. He's staring right into your soul, Rob.
For a moment there, it looked like he was staring at her hair like he wanted to play with it or something.
There we go. There we go. Now he's he's back.
What meeting is this now?
The the
climate
COP26 climate summit. So like, you know, the world's like climate summit.
He's like, I already signed the checks. I don't care.
And then his aide comes up and wakes him up. Did you see that shit? Did you see
There
that
is a giant
shit?
comet headed toward Earth. Sit tight.
Shit.
Sit tight and assess.
Oh, well said. Well said. Let me rub my eyes real quick. I was just resting my eyes.
You had better wash your hands, sir. Look at that. He's rubbing it around.
All right, I'm done with this. I had my fun. No, but seriously, at least, you know, Trump never literally fell asleep on climate.
True.
He just, you know, pretends it doesn't exist. He just says that it doesn't exist. So therefore it doesn't.
Mind over matter.
Oh, God. If only that worked.
That's how he got here.
Names of a fraudulent election that
All right, I'm going to try to stop my share for a second and see if you can do it then.
What were we trying to do?
Still disabled.
Damn.
Oh, that background.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll have to.
Man.
I wonder why it's disabled on yours, because it's lit up green on mine to click share.
Tell me, all these people have traveled in on commercial air flights. They're booked in hotel rooms for tonight.
It's a very tough period of time.
Extreme wealth. This is a big outgoing for them. It's their a big event of the year when people are strapped for cash in economic time.
Let's see what
They're not going home. They paid for hotel rooms. They're going to their hotels in DC.
It's good for business, Don.
Yeah.
that it was, Sterling.
This sure as fuck isn't gonna convince Congress to overthrow the election. Fuck out of here. This is
But
just
what
gonna
else
piss
does
them
it
right
do?
off.
What else does it do?
Of Wyoming, stay safe.
Makes us look like a bunch of fools.
Now you have.
Actually, I want to pause it
militia.
right there because he's totally right. And think about it. On the global stage, what was the perception of January 6th? It did make us look like fools.
It was comedy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the entire Trump presidency was comedy to most of the world, but...
And scary.
Yeah.
And it was horrifying comedy, which is probably the best to watch, not to be in. For sure.
Right. They enjoyed the shit show. And the rest of the week, But, yeah, being in it was another thing. But, yeah, that whole shit just made this entire shit show. It just showed how stupid everybody is. Like, how do you try to do an insurrection and don't have a plan once you get the fuck in there? And don't do anything but fucking...
I think we've looked this way for a while, though. We've looked like this for a while.
Stupid on the world stage, yeah. Oh, yeah. Fuck.
And yeah.
Yeah. It's sad. It's sad that this is the state of things here. It ain't fuck all changed. Like, the January 6th commission's still dragging its feet, not really doing dick.
Yeah.
Rob, what's up with your signal? You just went to a clusterfuck of pixels. Oh, you're back. Okay.
He's contemplating.
There was a little bit of animosity between the parties, but like as a country, we were able to see past that and not make a full identity.
There we go.
No.
Right. Or resort to volatility.
I mean, actually, I do want to pause it there anyway. He was talking about how, there was always like issues between the parties, but we as Americans were able to look through that. With a little bit of retrospect there, I don't know. I guess it just, like, in a sense, shows like how liberal we all were. Like, of course, that's like natural. We grew up in a neoliberal system. I'm not like meaning that as like a bad thing, but we didn't really have like an analysis behind it.
Right. We were still baby leftists, we.
Yeah. But yeah, so at this point in the video, though, we're like 3 hours into all this shit going down. And then the National Guard was activated. Yeah. Like, that's just mind-blowing. Anyway, so back to the party.
I walk into any one of those.
I think that the system was very good for a while at covering up for itself. And, we got concessions from capitalists like, better wages, the weekend, an end to child labor. But I think that those contradictions were ultimately always there. They just weren't front and center.
Right.
What were you going to say, though, Sterling?
No, well, I mean, they're still not. I would say they probably won't admit that they're front and center, though. They're still trying. They're still saying this is what they're saying it was. They're still saying it was a protest or it was some kind of coup. But, January 6th reminded me that I saw 9/11 on TV, just like everyone else did. Reminds me that Building 7 went down in free fall. It reminds me that we still played pretend the whole time, and we still are. And we're still playing pretend from January 6th. So I'm like, if anything, it just sent me further off the rails of what maybe I'm supposed to think about our society or our class or our struggles. I mean, I think we've all probably been wronged in more ways than we even will ever know. Some of us a lot more than others, obviously, but still, the list probably goes on and on. We'll never know.
Well, I mean, like this at this point, and the reason I brought up the lack of real analysis is I think that we were maybe just starting to understand that we have been wronged in a lot more ways than we realized. I mean, what is it, like $17 trillion has been stolen from the working class over the last 50 years?
Yeah.
Or, people trying to blame wage increases for inflation. Holy fuck, that's been disproven for fucking decades. Like, no, the reason that inflation is happening is, quantitative easing, $6 trillion straight into Wall Street before Congress even convened to talk about what we would get, which was peanuts.
Right. Where's the real fucking handouts going? Straight up to the wealthiest fucking hands first and foremost.
Right. And I mean, that's obviously COVID's been a theme the whole fucking year. COVID was already a year into the pandemic when we started doing the live shows.
Yeah.
So I mean, like that's worth touching on too. Like Trump. Okay, people are trying to blame Biden for the COVID stimulus spending and trying to blame higher wages for inflation, but yet corporate profits are still setting records every quarter. The Paycheck Protection Program included an out for businesses. Oh, well, if you can't, replace your staff through no fault of your own, then your loans are forgiven, which that's another big fucking hit on the inflation tip there, because that's okay. So I paused that real quick because Nate, who I don't think we have had on the show,
Hola.
That's funny that it froze that on Sterling. I'm going to take that out for a second. Oh, I got to unmute you. My bad. There you go. But you were saying some things in the comments, and I go ahead and just
Yeah, you guys you hit it right on the head with how much money has been literally stolen from the working class, and like the 6 trillion that you were talking about, plus the 17 trillion before that, altogether, they amassed over 22 trillion dollars of wealth transfer during COVID, which is like, holy crap! How does a country even have that much money? Well, we don't. It's all the corporations. So you're spot on about that. But yeah, hola. My name's Nate Bostic. I
Nate
share a lot
Big
of love.
Dick Bostic.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
And these guys have been really, really awesome. I'm really happy to be part of the crew. And happy Insurrection Day, everybody.
Fucking A. Happy
Right?
Insurrection Day.
Right. We're also at some point during this stream going to bring up Joe Biden's recent speech about the matter, which is almost laughable, to be honest. But I will say that it's probably the most alert that I've seen him in like 2 years. So
true.
I was wondering if you could give him some coke, wake him up, keep him going.
Mr. President, we need you to take this Adderall.
Charles, wake up, dude. Wake up, please.
They couldn't have him falling asleep like he did at the climate summit.
Right, of course. Yeah, exactly. Where are you guys at? It looks pretty nice out there right now.
We are in the Phoenix Valley, Arizona.
Excellent.
And I don't know like how well the noise suppression is working on your end, but on our end, all I hear is that fucking dog back there.
You can hear it; it's audible, but it's not over blaring, so it's good.
Okay,
it's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a plus.
From over here, he's pretty loud, and he's been just going for a while.
Yeah,
hey.
that's why I had us like off the screen with the video playing, because like I'm like, you know, like this fucking close, just trying to hear it.
Yeah.
Fucking stupid.
So, I wanted to talk a minute about the insurrection because, you know, 1 year ago today, when they were on their rascal scooters and you know, double pumped with AR-15s. No, I'm kidding. It wasn't exactly like that. But I hope that revisionist history shows it like that. That would be great. Capture the essence of all of it. It would be great if we had been together and doing it for opposite reasons, but instead you have this fascist sector that decided, hey, we need to erect a king. And it's like, that's not democracy. That's not how this works. I mean, the sham democracy that we have right now is at least better than a literal tyrant, literal. So it's one of those things that you just have to wonder what everybody's thinking, because at this point, the Democratic Party sits there and says, okay, well, we've got these people, we have this event that happened, we need to move on. And they wear kid gloves when they're supposedly like cracking down on them, as Biden and them were talking about the other day. But they wear kid gloves because it's the other side of the aisle, and the Republican Party has become that fascist. But don't mistake that the left can be just as fascist, just in different ways. And we've seen that carry out throughout this horror deal too. So, yeah, it's just one of those things where I really wish that we could get the working class understanding that they're not left or right. They are the working class. They are the peons. They are the ones that are not, you know, holding capital or creating capital for the machine, and therefore we're all expendable. And we need each other. We need each other to be together in order to even attempt to capture this whole thing and really and truly be free, especially monetarily.
Right, absolutely. That's the thing. People need to wake up to the fact that those two parties are one and the same, two heads of the same fucking monster. You know?
Yeah.
So they are in place to work for the corporations, not for the fucking people.
Yeah.
That's a problem. Regardless of your political stances on any other fucking issue, everybody's being shit on.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Especially, you know, the smallest groups that are honestly the most important. You know, the most marginalized of us get shit on the most in this whole thing. So you're totally right about that. And the other thing is, if you don't think that the Democratic Party can be fascist, know that if the Republican Party imploded tomorrow, the Democratic Party would become the new right wing automatically. And it would be up to people like us in order to form an actual left wing to this entire ordeal. So, you know, it's one of those things where people go, oh, well, they can be authoritarian, but I don't know about fascists. And it's like, no, because they're not left. So, yeah, they absolutely can be. They can go
And that's
that
one
far.
thing, too, where we have to, educate people on that point of, the Democratic Party isn't actually left. They're still pro-capitalist. Therefore, they are not actually on the left. The left begins with anti-capitalism. Straight the fuck up.
Based, yes, absolutely. Well, and people think it's like we were talking about last night, where people truly believe that actual commerce, which has existed for millennia, is capitalism. And
yeah, we talked about that quite a bit last night.
Yeah.
And it's all just a load of bullshit.
They don't get it. They really don't. Like they've been brainwashed to the point that they believe that if capitalism didn't exist, they couldn't have their chicken nuggies or they couldn't have their PS4. And it's like, no, that's not true. That's all due to technology. In fact, if you take away all of the technological aspects of society that have got us to where we are right now to be as comfortable as we are, we're still in austerity. There isn't anything that capitalism has done to like make our lives better. You can't argue that your life is better when everything that you need to survive has been commodified and thrown back at you as a product. And we seem to think that that's okay, and it's not. It's really not, especially when it comes to things like food and medicine and shelter and all of the different things. So we, as a community, we need to focus on becoming so tightly knit that regardless of what happens to the system itself, we're impervious to it. You know what I mean? And I know that sounds really revolutionary, but it needs to be that way, because at this point, we're just dwindling. Every single year, more and more people get kicked out of their homes or priced out of their own markets and are sleeping on the streets. And that shit's going to continue. It's going to continue until it breaks everybody. So we all need to band together. We need to get rid of this whole idea, absolutely abolish the idea of oh, you need to pick yourself up by your bootstraps, or you're not a real man unless you're, kicked out of the house at 18 and making it on your own. That's not how it should be. We need to focus on family. And there's certain sectors of the nation that do that better than others. But when it comes to like pale people like me, no, our families didn't get it, honestly. We're kicked out of the houses when we're 18, and that's that. And it shouldn't be that way. But anyways, as far as the families that do understand, you got to look to like the South. The South gets a lot of crap for being real honky and hick, but they understand what family is, and they hold each other really, really close in that regard. Also, Hispanic families are really, really big about, literally family. So we need to take aspects like that in order to start doing things like micro farming in your own backyard. Start doing things to really build a community so that we are impervious to these things like inflation and, getting priced out of your own homes because everybody's pitching in. Is there going to be less space for everybody? Sure, probably. But I think that we would be better off in the long run, and that it would take less effort from everybody if everybody pitches a little. And that's just the way that it needs to be from here on forward. Because to be honest, capitalism itself, it's a failed state. We all know that it's a failed state and that it's crumbling in basically slow motion. But we just refuse to see it because of the slow motion part. And that's terrible. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
At least it's in its death throes at this point. And everyone's seeing it. That's why we're seeing so many strikes across the board in so many different industries. People being fed up with the bullshit of being straight up exploited. People are finally waking up to the fact that that is exploitation, and that's inherent definitively to capitalism. It means to capitalize on somebody else's labor, i.e., whoever's on top ain't fucking working, and they're taking the lion's share of that money. And what they call a profit margin is actually unpaid wages.
Right. Yes. Unpaid wages. That's exactly what it is. Yes. And the really funny part is that people, even the working class, will go, well, they have a right to do that.
Says who?
Exactly. Yeah.
I never said it was okay for somebody else to make a fuck ton of money while giving me a pittance to barely fucking survive on.
Yeah, exactly. They're what's the name of that dragon from the Tolkien stuff? The dragon from The Hobbit, Smeagol.
Something like that.
Anyway,
I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, I would too. But yeah, they're literally that. They're modern day dragons. They're robber barons, literally. And people, I mean, people sit there and go, "Oh no, you can't call landlords that." And it's like, "Oh no, we can call landlords even worse."
Right.
But, yeah, it's one of those things where I think that society's finally saying, maybe it wasn't a good idea to literally commodify everything and have the profit motive take over literally life itself.
We allowed people to free market the fuck out of everything a little too hard. It's not a free market when only certain people have access, because the majority are being fucking limited in what we're even earning.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you look at the little things that have sprung up, like let's say Etsy, for example, or eBay, or anything like that, and you start to realize that this thing's not working out like we thought that it would. And if it completely failed tomorrow, people would still find ways of trading and communicating and bartering with each other. A market in some way, shape, or form would still exist, but it doesn't have to capitalize on the basic necessities of life. If you can live without it, it should be free. If you can die without it, it should be free. We don't need things like food and shelter and medicine being put behind these paywalls that only serves the I guess you would say the elite, or those that believe that they're elite, and throws away the rest of society. And that's what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, people are getting fed the fuck up with it across the board. Finally starting to see that for what it is. It's one of those things that you learn in logic and ethics courses in college, if you get the opportunity. Which is also behind a fucking paywall. And that's one of the first lessons that they teach you in ethics, is that if it is necessary for survival, then it is a human right. And that right there is one of those things that you learn that is what pisses conservatives off, quite frankly, about quote unquote liberal college, because they're like, oh my God, they're exposing you to ideas that threaten our fucking control over the flow of money itself.
Right. Yeah. It's just like, oh, what do you do? And they're scared about that kind of stuff. They're scared that they're losing their grip, and they should be scared. When you have created, artificial scarcity of everything, and then inflated that stuff year after year so that they have to pay even more for just basic necessities, people are going to get fed up at a point where they should be scared. We should be like, finding out what wine pairs best with Jeff Bezos. That's what we should really be doing at this point. And meanwhile, they're going to space, If they could, they'd leave all of us behind. That would be that. And we know that for a fact. But we don't need them. We've got each other, and we'll be just fine regardless of what happens to them, as long as we have each other. And so we have to find a way to de-radicalize the people from the far right and the far left. To be honest, I don't know how far you can get before you just do not understand those in any other realm. And so there's definitely a tipping point. There's a balance, and that balance needs to be struck between all of the American people, regardless of who they are.
Well, honestly, it needs to be struck globally and on that level of understanding that we need to get back to nature because we are, like you said, out of fucking balance.
Right.
That's a big aspect of it. That's why we are exploiting resources the way that we are, not just when it comes to commodifying everything, but destroying the fucking environment.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
This shit needs overhauled. People need to wake up to the fact that humans lived on this fucking planet for tens of thousands of fucking years before capitalism ever fucking reared its ugly fucking head.
Yeah.
You know, how and
for
why
most of that
is
history
via
we've been
communism, collectivism.
Fair.
Yeah.
But most of that time we've been, trading in goods and services, and it wasn't capitalism until, well, markets, I guess. But markets were really established under feudalism originally.
Right.
Well,
so I mean, to say that capitalism is human nature because humans buy and sell things is asinine.
Right. No. It's one thing to barter and trade. It's another thing to let somebody else who is a quote unquote trader that makes nothing buy a bunch of your goods and resell them at a much higher fucking rate. And that's basically what you're doing now, regardless of what job you're doing. If you're working in a shop, if you're, working in an office, you are trading them your time, labor, skills, experience, the whole fucking 9 yards, no differently. But they're making more fucking money off of it than you are when you're the one doing that building and creating. What the fuck? Excuse me?
Yeah. That's absolutely 100% true. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
By the way, thank you for the viewers. Natalie says family is so important, as is as his tribe, and the lack of hurts many, not just the children. Completely right. Absolutely. Like we were talking about earlier, it hurts by far the most. It hurts those that are marginalized, that do not have a roof, that do not have access to medicine, that do not have access to food. So yeah, you're right. Bread Theory, I've seen you around. I know who you are. Thank you for tuning in. Bread Theory says Bezos has said himself that he envisions a future where all workers and pollution is sent to space, and only the wealthy are allowed to stay on Earth. Yeah.
Musk said something similar.
Yeah, I mean it's have you guys seen that movie Elysium? It's basically that, but in reverse. So yeah, you're
It sounds
correct
familiar. I'm gonna have to pull that up and watch it.
We watched it back in the day when the band lived at my dad's house.
Did we?
Yeah.
Okay.
You'd enjoy it. If you don't remember it, I would definitely say to watch it again. I just recently went back and watched it and said capitalism to like everything that was going on.
We need to add that to the movie watch along list then.
It's
actually
great. Yeah, good film.
Let's do
good
that.
Film.
We were trying to think of what movie to do next for, this month's watch along. You want to do that one?
That's one thing that I do like, is that because Hollywood has always been one to, side with the state, push their agendas, stuff like that. And lately you've started to see a lot of stuff that goes, hey, this isn't right. This isn't what we should be doing. And so it's nice to see those type of titles breaking through. Elysium didn't get a whole lot of box office like smash hit grandeur, but it was really good. And looking back on it, when I watched it again, I was like, wow, this is actually a mirror, unfortunately. So pretty cool. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is as far as like Natalie was talking about, you know, it hurts it hurts the most marginalized of us, and so we do need to rally around that kind of stuff. I think that's one reason that I profess so much about trans rights, is because they were the first people that got, deleted from the ring of people that needed to be protected when this happened in the Weimar Republic, you know. And so we can't let that kind of shit happen again, because this is a repeat of that exact experience. I mean, I don't want to sound hyperbolic about things, but it really is. We can see it. We see the similarities, and we need to protect everybody, and not throw those that are like, you cringe, to the wolves. You know what I mean? And it seems like that's what we do. I've seen a lot of people that ever since J.K. Rowling came out for the TERFs, they sit there and go, oh, well, do we really need the trans people with us? And it's like, bro, it's in the name. It's LBGT. Do you see the T? So it's one of those things where you just go, why would you sacrifice anybody to this monster? Especially the least understood of all of us. So,
and that's the thing a lot of people don't realize is, trans people have always existed.
Yeah,
Many
absolutely.
cultures recognize that gender is a fucking spectrum.
Right, just like Mako talks about the
7 genders.
the 7 genders,
and all are
that's
sacred.
He refers to it as Lakota star knowledge, but I mean that's because that's the culture he's pulling it from. But cultures all around the world had similar ideas,
right?
Yeah.
And I would argue that that's more natural than the fucking bigotry that we subject them to today.
Exactly. Right. Exactly correct. Yeah. You look at this whole thing of, oh, well, now there's trans people and blah 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 blah, and it's like, those are the same people that used to bitch about, oh, well, now we've got these dandy boys, or oh, well now we've got these tomboys. It's the same shit, different era. They're always going to do that,
right? Just different names for the same bigotry bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, is that the best you got? Because that's weak.
Well,
yeah. It literally comes down to motherfuckers questioning the very existence and humanity of people, and it's like, how dare you?
Right.
How dare you?
Especially when gender itself is literally a social construct that we created. Right. I know that the people on the right don't want to hear that, but that's the truth of it.
Right, with the gender role bullshit, of presuming that just because you're born with this shape of genital, you're going to have that type of personality. And it's like, no,
right.
Not at all. Or you're going to want to make these specific life choices. No, not at all.
Yeah. The nuclear family worked for less than 30 years for them. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
1950 to like 1970. But for some reason, they want to pretend that nuclear family is like the staple of like what is humanity. And it's like, no, it's not. People were raised by whoever could raise the kids back in the day, because the men all went to war and died. So they can't act like the nuclear
Well, I mean, it's not
family
fair
is.
to completely exclude women there either. I mean, being a washerwoman might not sound like a super intense job,
but it is.
But it is.
Especially then,
we're
washing
talking
shit by
about
hand
literal
on scrubbing boards.
Right, and we're talking about like literal mountains of fucking laundry.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
As well as that being something that brought women into like manufacturing production and stuff too, because all the men were out at war.
Yeah.
And now they want to be mad about it because women are like, man, I kind of dig some of this shit, you know, and have steadily become more and more of the workforce over the years. You know, that's one of those things that like I see guys like I can't think of the name of the group now, that Meninist group we were laughing at the other day, the fucking meeting that they're doing soon, and they're like, yeah, bring all your alpha males, you know. And like they think that because you know you have a vagina you must want to, you know, have kids, and that's your designated role, and they're fucking mad as hell that there's a lot of women and other non-men who are not fucking interested in that at all. Like, no, I got other shit I want to do.
Yeah, for real, yeah.
You know, in the same goes for like certain social construct paradigms that they expect of men too. And it's like, how about you stop it and let people just be who they are and understand that it doesn't affect you. So what the fuck do you care?
Absolutely. If it's not hurting anybody else, why the fuck does it matter?
Right. Like, it's
That's
none
the
of your
truth of it.
business. It don't involve you.
Yeah.
You know, if there's no
not your
harm
thing.
being caused, then fuck off, stay out of people's business. Stay in your own lane.
Exactly.
So, before we get too off here, I'd like to jump back into this video with Sterling. We're about 2/3 of the way into it. And Natalie said in the comments, I just saw a notification that said Trump supporters are gathering outside the DC jail.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, which, I mean, it was announced yesterday, I believe, that like the January 6th people are in a specific section of the DC jail. So, you know.
Oh, boy.
That
Gotta
could be
protect them
fun.
from General Pop.
Yeah, right. But that could be fun. And there is a live feed of it, and we will be going to that later. But first, we have about 10 more minutes with the glorious Lord Sterling.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Is he here now?
No, we had to pre-record this because he's working right now.
Okay, word. Well, thank you guys. I really enjoyed being here, and you guys have a
Stay on. We're not done yet.
Oh, word. Okay, cool.
At all. Yeah, we'll come back to this too. We just wanted to finish the rest of that video with Sterling too, and then we'll come back and discuss some more because there's more that he's got to say there too that I think you'll dig as well.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yeah, Sterling's fun.
He is.
Billions of dollars.
I'm
We
glad
already
he was
know
able to
it was
join us for
billions of
that.
dollars fraudulently borrowed anyway. But on top of that, the people who are getting their loans forgiven aren't able to hire staff because they're not willing to pay.
Right. That's the thing. They didn't want to fucking just come right out and say, if like, well, I mean, I'm only offering a shit fucking wage nobody can survive on. I don't understand why I can't find anybody to work at my shit business. Like, maybe try having some fucking respect and regard for the people that make your business possible then, assholes. Because, you know, they're not there to just run your shit and not have anything to show for it.
Yeah, right.
I think it's good that we see that demands can be met. You know, not exactly what anybody really asked for, but there was a significant increase. I mean, McDonald's was saying, hey, we're going to pay you $19 an hour, $19 an hour to flip burgers. But a year prior, they were like, yo, $16 would break the universe. Right. I mean, we saw that change like overnight. So it was like, oh, wow, you're just making this up.
However.
Well, yeah. And I mean, I'm really interested to see. Sorry.
What?
Say a lot of the places that did that wage hike quit after only a few months. It was only a temporary thing to try to get people back in there working. And then they're like, got you here. Fucking you now. No lube. Up the ass. No consent.
Yeah, and yet people can't figure out why, you know.
I see.
We've been setting records. One more quick pause just to circle back to that. And we've seen that since places have, you know, tried to go back to paying everybody the absolute bare fucking minimum, now is when this so-called staffing shortage is happening.
Right.
Right. Yeah, exactly. True.
It's like, it's not a staffing shortage, it's a pay shortage. You're not offering enough to get people to bother to walk back in your doors and run your business for you.
Right.
It's like
Natalie
what?
said religion such as Christianity has harmed. I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I hope I don't piss anybody off, but I would say that's true of all of the Abrahamic religions.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I will say that any kind of organized religion, especially the Abrahamic ones, are certainly responsible for a lot of harm. Most of the harm, if you go back through the ages, you know what I mean? So yeah.
Right. They've been redacted with so much bigotry over the years. There's no authenticity, and that's something you'll find if you actually study the history of religions across the world. You'll find that a lot of those texts weren't even written till hundreds of years after they supposedly fucking happened. So we're talking about a game of telephone being passed along of word by mouth for hundreds of years, and alterations made to things, and people writing under surnames of the so-called apostles with bigotry, like the hundreds of people who used the surname Paul, and lended wonderful advice like that women should just be fucking silent and do whatever a man tells them to do.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, that's, how can you call that word of God when that is clearly a bigoted point of view of a man?
Yeah.
You know, so these things have been tainted, and you have to actually dig through all of the bullshit and go, wait a fucking minute here, and get to the metaphysical roots that it has in common with every other spiritual belief on the planet. And that's where you'll actually find some fucking truth. But the other dogmatic bullshit that's bigoted and whatnot, that no, they lost sight of the fucking message in there, and that's part of the problem, you know, because if you even ask that question that many Christians do of what would Jesus do, most of them, the shit they're doing ain't it.
Yeah. Oh, what would Jesus do? Jesus was a communist, literally.
Right.
So
right. Feeding people for free.
Yeah.
Free healthcare.
He
was
healed people
actually
for free.
called,
He took in the masses. He had
Washed the feet of
camaraderie with, like,
prostitutes.
there you
Right.
go. Exactly. Yeah, absolutely, man.
He
so,
might have
yeah.
even married one.
Yeah, and the only time that he really did violence, except for the time where he was a little kid, apparently, but as an adult, the only time that we know that he did violence within the Bible is when he saw capitalism taking place.
Yep.
So,
And especially the synagogue itself being exploited for capitalist purposes, and flipped their tables and beat the shit out of them with a fucking handmade whip he made himself, just
because they were
beating the
charging
shit out of
interest to
them.
their own people. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, yeah, and that's another thing is even in the Abrahamic religions, you know, debts are supposed to be forgiven every 7 years. You know, some of us have fucking car payments that last longer than that.
Right.
And charging interest at all is considered a hell of a sin in Judaism.
Right.
And in
they were,
Christianity.
They were trying to justify it by, well, we're not charging interest to fellow Jews, but we're going to charge interest to anybody who's not. And it's like, that's still not okay if you read your own fucking thousands of laws in Leviticus and Deuteronomy.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
many of which are shit.
Well,
anyway,
but
yeah, anyway, sorry to interrupt, Lord Sterling.
It's all good.
I'm gonna go with Zach's comment here first. It is definitely more complicated than that.
Right, we're barely scratching the surface.
And I mean, that's the Quakers versus the fundamentalists. And I mean, ultimately, what it comes down to is how they interpret it.
Right,
because they're reading, for the most part, the same text. Maybe slight differences in wording or translation, but they're reading the same text and they get the complete opposite message out of it.
And that's what, at least at that point in time, it seems the Quakers were trying to actually do like what Jesus would do and be like, okay, we can provide some food and supplies and help here type stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of times you like rarely see that amongst the fake Christians, not to say that there aren't ones who actually try to follow what Jesus taught. There are.
Yeah.
But the ones that are only Christian in name and don't even make an attempt to be Christ, like, it's like, wait a fucking minute here. What are you doing? Because aren't you supposed to be feeding and clothing the poor?
Right. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Well, and the thing is too, like you mentioned the Quakers, and this can go even to the Amish as well. They do a really, really good job of, providing family, providing shelter, providing food for everybody, the whole 9 yards. But then they have to do like all the bigotry with it as well, like, being oppressive to women and the whole 9 yards. And it's like, why does that part have to come with it? Just doesn't make sense to me. So yeah, it's one of those things where I completely despise most organized religion. Not the idea of religion itself, but the way that it's carried out.
Right, because there's stuff there that just doesn't even line up with their own teachings when it comes to behaviors, and it's like, wait a fucking minute. Not to mention even some of the stuff that is their legit teachings are still harmful and oppressive, on racist levels and sexist levels, as well as homophobic, you fucking name it.
Well, and I
and
guess
so
that
it's like you
kind of
really have
does
to
go to
cherry
their
pick the fuck
nature.
out of that, especially,
Yeah.
when it comes to even the roles that some of these so-called prophets like Jesus carried out, they were setting an example of like, you're really not supposed to treat people like that, like these corrupt people who are now running the religious organizations here are teaching, they're teaching you wrong. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to do this instead. And so that's where you see like division amongst a lot of different sects of all of these Abrahamic religions, is because, some are adhering to, that collectivism and that taking care of your community ideal.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
others are not.
Right. Yeah.
They're adhering more to subjugate other people type ideals.
Exactly.
Which is
Yeah.
sadly
Well,
what we see in a lot of fundamentalism.
And conservatives have done that for forever. They were like, oh, well, the white people can be free, but not the black people. And then later on, it was like, oh, well, the black people can be free, but we can't let the women vote. And then later on, it was, oh,
I mean,
we
that
can
being
let the
said, have
women
you
vote,
ever heard Emma Goldman's take on women's suffrage? Because she was completely opposed.
Really?
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she viewed it as being just as oppressed as men. And I mean, she's right. Look at what liberal feminism got us: 2 income households instead of 1.
And she was basically saying, what the fuck does this vote mean when you're not even actually being represented by it? Oh, you want to be as equally oppressed as men? And, she had a very fair point there.
And I mean, I think that just in terms of class relations between employer and employee, she kind of foreshadowed what would happen with the 2 income households. Or
she saw it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and that's one thing that gets me is people like Joe Rogan, when he shared that meme of strong men bring good times bring weak men bullshit. You look at it and you go, but what's actually bringing up weak men right now? Well, it's the fact that there isn't a father or a motherly figure in the household because they're too busy off making money just to keep a roof over their heads, you know?
Right. And instead of having that village together to raise a child, they're being left dependent on, childcare facilities and stuff and babysitters if possible or whatnot, and that's only if you can even afford it.
Correct. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. And if you can't afford it, then you leave them to the streets because there's nothing else you can do. You hope a neighbor can watch or take care of them, or
right, like make sure my
you
kid
sit them
doesn't
down
set
to
the
a
house on
TV
fire.
with some chicken nuggets and call it a night.
Right. Teach your kid how to use the microwave. Here you go.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's sad.
It is. It really is. And what's it because of? Capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
That's the important part, is that it wasn't a free market that did this. It wasn't being weak or liberal. It was neoliberalism. It was capitalism that tore the families apart and continues to.
Yep.
So yeah. But
Well
I'm
said.
sorry, my bad. I'll let you guys get back to the video.
It's all good,
It's all
man.
good. Yeah, that was an excellent rant.
For like every month for like a year straight on people quitting their jobs. It's not that nobody wants to work. It's that what's the point of working, 40, 50, 60 hours a week just to maybe be able to pay your rent?
Right.
So
maybe.
We saw what was it, Reddit did with GameStop and AME or AMC theaters, right? Yeah. So they just rally behind and saved businesses that were failing, at risk, right? We all love GameStop, so there was some shit there too. But imagine it on the reverse, though. There's one company in particular, everybody's like, yo, these people are shitbags. Let's completely and utterly crush their business. They're done. Yeah. I think it would be interesting if we started seeing something like that. I don't know that we won't. That's the weed.
I mean, to be fair, you could be right. But I mean, I really want to see in 2022 where this labor push is going. I mean, we're seeing, unionization in fast food. Holy fuck! Like
Coffee,
even a year ago, that seemed like an unreachable goal, and now because of COVID and all of this other shit, it's happening.
Yeah, it's wild.
That's at least one thing I'm glad to have seen start happening over the last year is people standing the fuck up. We're seeing more strikes now than we have in decades. Across the fucking board, every fucking industry,
Yeah, since the late 60s, early 70s,
mm-hmm.
which is probably the most revolution-prone era in modern America.
Yeah. We're crossing the threshold. We're off the map now.
We are at that tipping point, yes. People are just sick of being shit on, of only getting a tiny fucking pittance of what they're actually seeing.
Exactly. Well, I mean, and like this year for Christmas, I saw so many people sharing around, the conversion for 15 bob, like adjusted for inflation, and it was something like 46 or 50 something $1,000 a year, and that's like it was like 46,000, I want to say, and he's like the epitome of poverty, right? 15 bob a week. Poor Bob Cratchit can't afford to take care of his kids, but like most of us make less money than the epitome of poverty in a 150-year-old fucking novel. So,
right. And we can't exactly wait on Ghosts of Christmas, past, present, and future, to just start harassing all of the fucking exploiters in their sleep.
No,
so,
we have to. We have to be the ghost of Christmas, past, present, and future.
Yeah.
Be the ghost.
Indeed.
Well, I mean, I'm sure we're also going to talk about this in the current event stream, which obviously will be a separate recording from this, but also Betty White.
Oh.
Fucking Betty White.
Yeah.
Just weak. First of all, I'm sure that Nate's going to have some input on Betty White too, because we've talked about Betty White so much in the group chat this week.
Right.
But I wanted to address Zach's comment here. Bread Theory said, I grew up Lutheran, but lost faith by college and can never see myself following an organized religion again. I do miss the community and shared sense of purpose, though. Look for something like a metaphysical church.
Right.
I mean, all these religions are all based on the same metaphysical roots anyway, whether it's paganism, Abrahamic religions. I mean, in Catholicism, they're literally aligning their chakras.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
sure.
well, I would guess my video's off, but
yeah.
By the way, I'm kind of fangirling here, but just to give a shout out, Bread Theory actually he follows and comments a lot on the same BreadTube groups that I do. He's based as fuck. I'm glad he's here.
Yeah.
He's in the group chat too.
Yeah, that's Zach.
Wait, really? You guys know him in real life? What?
Yeah, Zach is Bread Theory.
Oh shit! I only know him from YouTube, so I'm like, dude, this guy's badass.
Fair enough. Yeah,
awesome.
I mean, honestly, I like the shout out. I mean, lately I haven't had too much time to watch streams other than our own, but when I do, they're usually his. So,
right.
Nice. Zach, we'll have to get you on, man. That'll be awesome.
Agreed. It's been a while. We did some cross-platform, the State and Revolution series we did with Zach. Actually, 2 of them we didn't make it to, so 2 of them are only on Zach's. But yeah, I'd love to have him.
But
back,
they're there.
honestly.
Hell yeah.
Right.
Shit, Zach, if you want to pop in here, feel free. You are formally invited.
Hell yeah.
Samael Wade said the Spectre.
Yes.
There is a specter haunting the world.
Especially in Europe.
Is the Communist Party.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I'm getting off topic here. We're almost done with this. Sterling's face right there says it all, doesn't it? Just like, God damn it.
Right.
It really
like, dude, Betty was supposed to outlive us all. Every fucking one of us.
Yeah,
so she could leave a better world to Mick Jagger. God damn it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that at this point we were like figuring out how to leave a better world to fucking Betty White, Mick Jagger, and Keith Richards.
Yes.
For real.
Yes.
Maybe Paul McCartney, but he may or may not be an alien.
Fair.
I'm kidding. I'm not going down a Beatle conspiracies rabbit hole.
We love you, Paul.
Shy of 100 years old.
We're gonna say that she made it to 100.
We're definitely saying that she made it to 100. I don't give a shit about that 2 weeks. After 99 years and 50 weeks.
Fucking A, man. Fucking A.
She lived out almost all of her 100th year. So
right.
It counts. Damn it. She lived long enough to make the special for her 100th birthday. Okay?
That works for me.
And it's still being
You know
released.
those moments where they just look at you from across the room and they're like, and you know what that means.
Lived out all but the last few days of her 100th year Earthside. So
yeah, she made it. She made it. She lives forever.
Welcome to the Department of Redundancy Department.
Forever.
Yeah, and I mean, like,
we all do.
This is gonna sound stupid, right? But like, I mean, she hasn't aged since I was born. So like, at this point, I just assumed she was some sort of like timeless being.
Right?
Yeah.
She looks exactly the same as she did back in the fucking day on Golden Girls. Like, come on now.
Yeah, that was 1985. Like, fuck, dude.
You know,
in the comments, Wade said
Keanu
she took 2021 with her.
Like he has aged really well,
and I replied, by the fucking
watching
throat.
the new Matrix, I can tell he really has gotten up there. He sounds older. He moves, and it was really not that good.
Older.
I'm really upset.
Really?
I'm really upset.
No.
Actually, I'm not upset. I understand kind of the maybe the motivations behind it, but I don't like that they chose a fourth Matrix film to express that point. So that's the max of my spoilerage.
I mean, that's fair. And I mean, I don't even know if I'm going to see it, to be honest. I've always like viewed the Matrix trilogy as a trilogy.
You would be not in a bad way if you did miss it. But if you did watch it, I hope that you would understand it enough to not be super, super mad, to be like, okay. If that's
yeah, I'm going to have to try to take it as a standalone, honestly.
Fair.
Yes, I probably will watch it. Just because I'm curious about what Hollywood's doing to try to convince us all that Keanu Reeves is not, immortal.
Or that we needed a new Matrix.
Oh, man.
Again, if this will be talked about in the current event stream in a lot more depth, so I'm not going to go into detail on this, but happy 63rd, I believe, year to the Cuban Revolution.
Happy 63.
Fuck yeah.
Dudes.
That's,
people.
Sarah agrees, apparently. She felt
Sarah
here. Yeah.
I think this is probably a pretty decent clip to add, though, to that show, because, I mean, we're going to do the show itself live, but Sterling was available today, so we wanted to have Sterling.
Thank you for having me aboard.
We miss you, Sterling. Of course.
Thanks for joining us. But shit, bro. I hope you start coming back more often for the shows.
I'm so scatterbrained. I can't do that.
I mean, that's okay, though.
Detective work you guys do.
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, we did go through that Kellogg fiasco, which, by the way, yeah. Don was throwing around an idea of ragging on them too. I was like, yeah, it would be pretty funny.
Right on. Anyway, though,
masturbatory cornflakes.
I'm going to end this recording so that way we can record the current event stream. That was such a funny moment because it was like Toodles, but it wasn't really Toodles. Because we stayed in the same room to record the current event stream.
That's great.
Oh, that's a shitty cut.
I'm cool with it. Whatever.
So we do have a live feed of this Trump rally, pro-Trump rally outside of a DC jail. This is real life. So I guess in the spirit of, the anniversary. Happy Insurrection Day. We're going to listen to some Trump supporters make some fools of themselves.
Nice.
I thought I clicked the mute button first, but...
And they should act. It's so important. Yes.
Is that a burning cross? It's like, is that a cross-shaped candle? Is that a
every
burning
single one of your
cross?
elected officials who they work for.
Oh no, it's just
and that is we, the people. They are put here to protect our God-given liberties. Government doesn't give me my liberties. God does.
Existing does.
You hear that
Just
shit?
people who don't follow your religion also have
How about that? It's
rights,
one of my favorites.
liberties.
God bless America, land that
We do not
Thank
own
you.
that song. We do not. No.
Yeah, we'll have to mute the hogs while they belch out some stuff that'll get us, like, struck from YouTube. Copyright.
And it was making my
galore.
ears scream a little bit, to be fair.
I will
Only
say they
God
seem,
owns that song.
much smaller in number a year following the
attempted coup.
I don't even know what to
cosplay
call
coup.
it.
Yeah,
the
I'm not.
cosplay revolution.
There we go. Yeah, that's probably a good word for it, considering that the dude's got a Captain America shield on his shirt. So I think you're right about that. Well, it's funny too because you said they're at a DC jail, right?
Yeah.
Are they planning on breaking everybody out? Like, what's going on?
Well, all
there?
fucking 7 of them?
For real. And at least it's not a big crowd. Especially, you would think that it would be on the quote-unquote Memorial Day, but
and there's a bus. That means they were bussed in from somewhere, and there's still like 7 of them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where you just go, okay, so what exactly? I'm guessing that they're still singing because that lady's doing something that looks very metronomic. But
Jesus Christ, this is nowhere near as exciting as January 1st.
Right.
Although I was so angry, like, honestly, like, watching that video back, I mean, like, we're trying to crack jokes, but, like, I just see, like, the anger in my face.
Right, yeah. Well, it's one of those things where it's like, how can you not be angry about something like that? Even though it's the thing that's oppressing us all that they're trying to take down. They're doing it
in the wrong way.
All the wrong reasons. Yeah,
and they're doing it to basically install a fascist dictator, and I mean
the opposite of what we need.
And then they tried to blame the left for it. Like they didn't even try to like own up. Like, hey, yeah, we did this. It was really dumb. They were like, oh, that was Antifa.
Right.
Yeah. What?
Ashley Babbitt, man, Antifa #1 right there. Like,
oh man,
what the fuck?
Yeah, it's just mind blowing.
But that's part of fascism, according to what's his name's 14 points, is that the enemy has to have it both ways. So your enemy has to be both strong and weak at the same time, and that's exactly what they did that day. It was that, like, yeah, it was all Trump supporters and it was patriotic, and then at the same time go, but really it was Antifa and BLM. It's like, what? Like, doesn't make sense.
Right. So I don't know, like, what else has happened in the last year that we can touch on? I mean, other than the obvious, Betty White passed, the labor shortage we've talked about.
Ben Shabibo.
The insurrection, obviously, we've talked about.
Right. Yep. That too. We don't have to talk about WAP because everybody knows about that.
We could talk about the farmers' protests in India.
I was going to ask about that, yeah, because I haven't actually got to see too much at all about that so far.
Oh,
I'm guessing it's not unlike what's going on in Kazakhstan, but I don't know.
Well, that's worth noting too, because that happened in our first year of operation. Or that's not even what I was thinking about. We should talk about the parliament that was lit on fire in fucking Cape Town.
That's
but first,
wild. Yeah.
First, I have to get you I gotta show you the farmers storming Delhi.
Yeah, I want to see this. That's based. That's awesome. Farmers unite, workers unite. We need that kind of energy here, man. I'm telling you.
Actually, I don't. Hold on. That one's The Guardian. This is South China Morning Post. Let's go with that.
There we go.
All right.
Well, even The Guardian's getting kind of based from some of the shit I saw the
Yeah,
other day.
so,
And
some of their coverage has actually been really good lately.
Oh, The Guardian? Yeah.
I read from The Guardian the other day that legit called the U.S. government illegitimate multiple fucking times in one article. And I was like, yes.
It's
yes,
funny how
you.
The Guardian and The Intercept are both like basically taking each other's place.
They're basically what? I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
They're basically what though?
Oh, taking each other's place. Like The Intercept started out as based, and now it's all, you know. Oh wow! Damn! Look at that.
And after months of this shit going on, I mean, they shut down every route in and out of New Delhi for months. And then the government finally backed down and repealed the laws that sparked the protests.
Yeah.
But I mean, they literally got in their fucking tractors and stormed the Red Fort. Like,
badass.
That's based as fuck, right?
Fuck yeah. Yeah, I feel really sorry for the people of India, especially considering that they really don't have any weapons of their own, and then the police, on the other hand, they've got all kinds of things like shotguns and pellet guns, and even the pellet guns have killed numerous amounts of people.
Right.
So it's well, it's like it always is. The state has, you know, the license on violence. Wow, that's wild.
I mean, you know, that's what an insurrection looks like. Not January 6th.
Right. Yeah.
They did like Mao did. All the farmers rounded up, and as you saw, they brought their farming equipment as their weapons.
Well, okay,
Damn it.
and that's the thing
Which is
too.
beautiful.
And that's the thing too, right? Like, India has more than one communist party. They've got a Marxist party, a Maoist party, and a Marxist-Leninist party.
Yeah.
So,
there's representation.
I mean, there are 3 different communist parties in India, and well, it's obvious to see, although it is kind of sad because when we were watching that shit happen, you know, like there's like big chunks of the crowd that had fucking hammer and sickle flags and shit. I didn't see much of that in that video we just played.
Right.
But I mean, that's why I got no press coverage here, you guys, because like we're talking about millions of people storming a government building
in the name of community, in the name of communism. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's absolutely why it didn't get any press coverage here. I didn't even know about it. I had no idea.
It was a wild thing, to be honest. And of course, like, you know, these live feeds are all in Arabic or like Chinese or, you know, like there's no subtitles or anything. We're just like, oh my God, I don't know what they're saying, but they're pissed.
Right. Which, I mean, that's the level of, you know, camaraderie that we need here. It really is. And it's, I think that it's going to take a hell of a lot of work to get everybody punching up instead of everybody punching left and right. But it needs
or
to
down.
happen. Yeah.
Right.
So we do not own this video I'm about to share with you. Reuters does. Actually, no, fucking we will get flagged for that. Let me find something that's
The
there we
Guardian.
go. The Guardian. The Guardian is all like, hey, we are journalists. You can use this.
Right.
As long as you're not profiting off of it, which we are not.
I'm gonna take you mobile for a minute. I gotta go grab coffee. I'll be back.
All right.
Okay. This is a very sad day for our democracy because Parliament is the home of our democracy, and Parliament is also a strategic key point. We have the situation under control for now. We will be continuing with the investigation as to the cause of the fire. For now, where it is burning, we've contained the fire in the chambers of the National Council of Provinces. The fire is currently in the National Assembly chambers, where we are also busy to contain that.
The roof of the building has collapsed on the one side, and the fire has spread to the new assembly. According to the officers, they've detected large cracks in the wall, which is of concern. The firefighters report that they were on scene for some time before the fire detection system first triggered and then sounded the alert. So it does appear that that system was somewhat delayed.
Oh wow, it might help if I unmute. That's funny. Okay, so we were going to take a short intermission, and I'm going to play you all a song, and then I'm going to grab a sweatshirt. As you see, the sun is going down, and it gets cold really fast in the desert.
Yep. No cloud cover to trap any heat in. So as soon as you're not getting hit by sun rays, you start getting cold.
Amen to that. I'm going to play you guys a song that you usually hear at the end of the show, but I'm not totally ready to call it quits yet. I just definitely got to grab a sweatshirt. That's not...
Actually, play him the acoustic one.
Where... I'm not sure where it's at.
Shit.
Found it. All right.
There we go.
I hope you guys enjoy this song. We will be right back. Trisha is not quite back yet, but I am. And Nate is. Oh. Hello, Nate. Let me pull this thing back down. I'm actually really stoked to see that nobody left. So thank you guys. You're awesome. I hope you enjoyed that tune there. It doesn't have lyrics or anything yet, but it will. How's it going, Nate?
What's up? My computer just died. Sorry.
Oh.
I had to find a charger for it real quick. Yeah, I was really surprised. Everybody's still here, which is based. That's awesome.
Yeah, agreed. Let's see, what else have we... I'm trying to think of like standout moments in my head. Although that, I guess to pick one out, that interview with Daryl Lamont Jenkins.
Oh, I didn't get to see that one.
No, you came right after that. But we watched with our patrons. We watched Alt-Right Age of Rage, which is one of Daryl's movies, and that was literally like after we talked to him that day.
Oh, wow.
Was it that day? It might have been the day before, but either way, so like it went hand in hand and it was awesome. And that's definitely a standout moment to me. That was such a good fucking documentary, and it really like puts in perspective why it's important we organize.
Yeah.
Because they are.
Right.
Like not just a little bit either.
No.
They are organizing en masse.
I just got a thing that I found. Hang on, let me pull it up real quick here. It was a thing that I was sent by a friend. That oh, here we go. It's from the John Brown Brigade of Mankato, and it says, on the anniversary of the reactionary push to the Capitol, we announced that Mankato has been brought to my attention that you guys have a local Nazi problem, and it's talking about patriotic front stickers and all kinds of fascist propaganda that's being thrown around everywhere. So yeah, you're right. They're absolutely organizing and in a big way.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what happened to my camera. I guess I'll have to try to like log out and log back in. I don't. It says that it's sharing, but it's obviously not. So I don't know what I did to it.
Right. Right.
But yeah, if you want to take over for a minute, I'm gonna go handle my camera prop, and I'll be right back.
That's all right. I'm actually going to show another video.
Oh, perfect.
I'm going to pull up the piece with Daryl and, you know, kind of reflect on it. So try to pay attention if you can, but by all means.
Will do. All right.
Need to get people to start doing things about this crowd before they kill someone. I mean, the only reason why we see we talk about Charlottesville as much as we have, or talk about January 6th as much as we have, is because people died. And that should not be the thing that triggers you. The thing that triggers you should be their mere presence, period. And every time I see us doing things after January 6th or after Charlottesville, that effectively shuts them down. Every time I see Twitter or Facebook or just some random corporate entity just shutting them down after something tragic happens, I'm just sitting there looking at it going, and you had the power in you all along. And we could have stopped this a long time ago. And we're still there. We're still doing that thing. And we're trying our best to discourage people from doing it and start taking action now, because for all you know, the next person that could be killed by these characters could be you. Could be somebody you care about.
Right.
I mean, the main reason why we do what we do is because these characters have a penchant of hurting people. It is their MO. It is what they live for, hurting people. You people. And you might be the person that they have their sights on next. They probably won't even know you exist when they hurt you. They don't need to. You do exist. And somehow you got in their way. So let's try to discuss how we can do something about them before they hurt us as a community, as a people, as individuals. So
the American Renaissance, you pointed out that it's coming up soon. What are the dates and how do people get involved if they want to be there to show support? Not for them, obviously, but
obviously. The American Renaissance Conference is taking place on November 12th to the 14th at Montgomery Bell State Park in Burns, Tennessee. It's about 45 to an hour away from Nashville. And the reason why they're there is because we kind of like chased them to Tennessee. They used to have their conferences years ago. They used to have their conferences in Washington, D.C. proper. And it was a selling point for a lot of folks. It was the white supremacist white supremacist CPAC, Conservative Political Action Conference. And for a long time, they flew under the radar and was even, reason why C-SPAN came up, they were even, their conferences were even shown on C-SPAN. You can still see them on the C-SPAN website. And we started making noise about them in about 2002, 2004, 2006. 2008, people started coming out to protest for real, to the point where, and I would say in 2000, there was protests. There's generally protests. Anti-racist action will be out there. But in 2008, the press decided to start asking them the right questions. And that, to give you an idea of how much of a concern these characters are, that was the reason why a upstate New York prosecutor got fired from his job, because he was there attending the conference, and he spoke to the press because he thought it wasn't a problem to speak to the press. There was no threat. I'm sorry, that was 2006 when that happened. 2008 was when we started having massive protests. The reason why they're concerned, reason why American Renaissance is a concern, is because of that kind of influence.
Wasn't Unite the Right born at American Renaissance as well?
Yes. They have a political influence. They have the influences with politicians in academia. So Jared Taylor, who published American Renaissance, it's a publication, is considered the genteel racist or whatever. And and really, he is considered by a lot of folks to be the well from which the so-called alt-right springs. So these conferences, we managed to get chased out of Washington, D.C., and we got them chased out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Their refuge has
and what he's doing. I mean, it's a lifeline. He was the only one I found. There's more people doing what he's doing, but I mean, Daryl, you're like the godfather of it. You were public about it. You were open to your own.
She's talking about doxing.
But
in the title for this video, I thought about sarcastically like titling it, like with your name and put in parentheses CEO of Antifa, just to like piss people off.
That's already been done. Hey, look, Washington Post has already called me the father of doxing. So I mean, I keep on making jokes about the powdered wig that I need to get, and I got to get an oil painting done and a frilly shirt, So and me,
that would be fucking awesome.
but I haven't done it yet. I mean, I don't want anybody to look at me funny because I spent money on some shit like that. When I should be spending on fair. But the
Hey,
truth
just
of the
find a
matter is,
local like acting troupe and ask them if they have a costume you can borrow and a battle axe to go with it too, like judge, jury, and executioner. You never know. There might be a local acting crew that can float you those items for a photo shoot.
I'm going to have to ask, but there is also the matter of the fact that I'm 350 pounds. Costumes of my size are fleeting, are rare. So I may just have to go with the powdered wig. But then again, I got a fat head, so who knows? That might not fit either.
It's all that information you carry. I call you a filing.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it.
Yeah. You're a human filing cabinet of white nationalist information. I mean, you really are. You're a Rolodex on it. You also make doxing not a dirty word. A lot of people use doxing for dangerous methods. You don't. You're saying, here's this guy. Here's where, what field he's into civil service. And here's what he's planning to do to you and which people.
Well, it's like my friend Yenta, Laura out of DC, who's been my right hand for a number of years, said on 2020, he said, look, if you're a teacher and you're teaching these kids, yeah, you damn right you're getting doxxed. Absolutely.
Right.
Because, you think about it like this. There was a guy, back to American Renaissance, there was a guy who was on the Queen's School Board named Frank Borzilleri, who got famous for wanting to take Martin Luther King books off of school shelves. And he became a darling and a speaker over at the American Renaissance conferences in years past. And eventually, he got off the school board because they reconfigured what school boards in New York City was going to be like. And he took a job as a school principal in the Bronx. And everybody started, yeah, that's pretty much what everybody said after they realized who he was. So
that's,
and he was a white nationalist. That's wild. Like, that's crazy. Definitely some food for thought there. We know that they're in our military and we know that they're in our police forces, but I don't think a lot of people understand that they are also shaping the minds of our youth. So, it's one of those things that's like where we're here trying to like promote diversity and being inclusive with one another, and they're out there literally preaching hate and genocide and supremacy, and that's scary, man. Sorry, am I muted? My bad. But
we are. Oh.
Damn.
Oops.
But yeah, it's one of those things where you don't stop to think about, professors and teachers and youth guidance people and stuff like that. And a principal, like what, dude? Like that's wild. That's wild.
Right. A lot of what he's exposing is these guys aren't, what you would typically imagine. They're not wearing a white sheet with a fucking pointed hood on it. They're in business suits.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, or, like police uniforms during the day and white robes at night.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
To put it in the words of Rage Against the Machine, some of those that work forces are the same
that burn
crosses.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm gonna mute for a second because of all that noise.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, that's a scary realization, and it's also why I think that the shit libs that sit there and act like guns are a bad thing completely don't get it. They don't understand. Gun rights are minority rights. I will stand by that for as long as I live, because it's a lot harder to get clapped when you're a homosexual or a transgender person when you can clap back. That's the truth of it. It's harder to
And
take someone's humanity away.
so that being said, we used to have Dean on the show. I was really hoping he was going to make it for the anniversary stream, to be honest. But
yeah,
we used to have Dean on pretty regularly, and his views are not what you would call pro-gun.
Yeah.
But that being said, he's like, I advocate for the disarmament of mankind, beginning with
the police and the military.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. And he was in the military. So that speaks volumes.
That speaks a shit ton of volumes, yeah. Especially considering that they have they have an out. They don't have to go to jail and prison for committing atrocities. You know, it's they have absolute impunity, and if you're less than 600 miles from a border, even a sea border, they can legally run around in vans and pick you up, which is really freaking scary. You know, we saw that in Portland last year, and we all kind of wondered why. But it's one of those things where you just go, wow, things are not like they're supposed to be. Posse comitatus and the Fourth Amendment don't apply anymore, and that's a scary thing.
Well, I mean, okay, so on that, I don't think that the Fourth Amendment has been intact since at the very latest, the early 60s.
Yeah.
And I mean, that comes back to the conversation that we had with Chairman Jake about the White Panthers wiretapping case being the Supreme Court ruling that brought Watergate about.
Yeah, absolutely. I forgot about that. But as far as the Panthers and stuff go, you know, that when it comes to, and this kind of goes back to the gun rights thing, the NRA didn't really care about anything to do to constrict the people's guns until the Panthers rose up. You know, it was after that they sat there and said, oh, you know, maybe we should do something about these gun laws, you know.
Right.
So,
well, and that's funny too, because like the freedom loving so-called, you know, like the pro-Reagan type people are always these same like pro-2A people, and they don't even realize that Reagan, when he was governor of California, is the one who instituted these fucking gun laws, and that was directly because of the Black Panther Party.
Right. Correct. Yeah. Gun rights have always been racist. It wasn't until minorities started to, you know, commune together and rise up that they were like, oh shit, we got to do something about this, you know. So it's one of those things that, but yeah, going back to the whole thing of the Fourth Amendment, you know, I think that's why the NDAA of 2012, you know, that sat there and said, oh no, you can be held indefinitely for no reason, literally for no reason at all, even if you're a citizen of the United States, held indefinitely without any charges. That's scary shit. It really is.
It really is. And it's something that yet again wasn't talked about by the media.
Right.
Like,
right. That's one of the things that we were protesting in Occupy.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that being said, like, okay, so we had our camp, unlike most occupations, it was not in a public park, and that's why it lasted so long.
Yeah.
It was on a privately owned lot right next to the park.
That works.
Right. And we built a straw bale fortress and lived in it through the winter. So we were still there when the National Defense Authorization Act fucking happened.
Wow.
And we went across the street to our senator's office and handed that bitch's assistant a copy of the Constitution.
Yeah. I told him to tell her to read that so she could understand precisely where she was committing treason in voting yes for that.
Yeah.
And he just kind of looked at me like, fuck.
He's like, what have I done?
And,
yeah.
We also caught a lot of flack from other occupations for allowing the open carry of firearms in coordinates with Michigan law.
Yeah.
Like there was always someone armed in our entourage, and I'm sure that put off the fucking assistant too, because dude, he was trying to get back in that door as soon as he opened it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. He's like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, and that's how it should be, man. Anytime that they interact with the public, they should be scared of us, honestly. I'm not saying like inherently fearing for their life every time they see, their constituents, but they should be as scared of us as they are of the board members of the people that they're taking money from, because in the end, we're the ones who get stuck with the laws and the shit that they make. It's not the corporations that have literally a building full of lawyers at their disposal who can skirt anything they want. It's us. It's the American people that get shit on. So, yeah, I think you had every right to not only do exactly what you did, but the whole Constitution in their face. That's pretty epic. I dig it.
Yeah. I mean, granted, I have a lot less respect for that document now that I have a little better understanding of the actual history of it.
Sure.
But,
right.
Far
greater perspective on it
yeah,
10 years ago.
But I mean, that being said, at the time, I thought that was a very powerful statement.
Yeah.
And of course, it meant nothing, and that's part of where the disillusionment with fucking corporate politics comes in. Like, right. I mean, we had a 6-month presence there. We had a senator fucking across the street. They never came and talked to us, not once.
Yeah.
Actually,
and the mayor did when there was news cameras, so he could do a nice, peaceful appearance, and
I'm trying to remember his name, and I don't remember if he's Senate or House, but there was one politician that came to camp, and
god damn it, what was his name?
Fuck,
he's dead now.
Is he really?
If it's the dude I'm thinking of. Kildee, right?
No, but Kildee actually was cool. He would sit down at the bar down the street and just toss back drinks and discuss whatever was going on with people,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, okay, so we've only ever had one politician march in the parade for the 4th of July for my hometown, and that was Kildee. And, I mean, basically, he started off at the front of the parade, and by the end of it, he was at the back because he kept stopping and talking to people. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, he is one of the few that seem to legitimately care.
Right.
And it wasn't about, political affiliation. It was hey, what do you think needs to be done better?
Right.
What is your community fucking struggling with? And I think that's something that our culture has lost. To be honest, is that
and it's something we need to get back to, because we can't heal a community unless we have people within it that are willing to look at the problems of that particular community and fix it. There's no one size fits all for this nation. It's too big, I mean, you look at other nation states, and they're literally less than the size of Texas in a lot of cases, especially if you go to the EU and stuff. Even
well, yeah, most countries in the European Union are relatively the size of Michigan, let alone Texas.
Yep, absolutely, yeah. So you do have to have you got to go in there with a surgical knife. You have to have people that are living it on the ground in that area that have a leader that can come forward and say, hey, we need this, this, and this, because what Miami needs may not be what New Mexico needs, you know?
Right. That's the thing. They have to actually be representing their constituents, and that's something that's been so fucking lost sight of. And as far as in Kilday's case, like, he lasted a long fucking time in office, and even his son is in office too now. But he lasted that long because he was actually listening to the people in Michigan that were his fucking constituents, because that feedback, whether he got it in an email, a handwritten letter, or sitting there having a drink at the bar, he was listening and actually taking that into account when it came to what actions he took in his fucking office.
That's cool.
That's been fucking lost on the majority of American politicians.
That being said, though, that is the reason that it took me so long to like become disillusioned with the political system itself. Because I was like, oh, well, if we get the right people in there, look at this one example.
Yeah, there's
you know, but
there's
like,
an illusion that they won't be held up into the oligarchy and they won't be bought out by these corporations and, you know, special interests. So I totally agree with you there, man. It's AOC, perfect example. Everybody was like, oh, she's different, she's with us, she's gonna get up there and things are really gonna change between her and Bernie and the squad, you know. And none of that has happened because they all get bought. Unless you have an AOC in every single community and every single city of every single state across the nation, there's no way that they're able to do that kind of thing, because along the way they're going to get swept up into getting bought out, you know.
It's sadly what happens every time. That's the problem. They're representing corporations instead of their constituents that voted them into place, you know. And it's like, even with the squad, like, yeah, they've done some stuff, but there's also shortcomings there too, that it's like, wait a minute, you were elected on these basis right here.
Well,
like,
we'll see how
we
this
need
works.
you to take action on this. And
So,
we've got Wade on the phone now.
We've got Wade on the phone.
Word, what up, brother?
He tried to join the meeting, but it didn't work. So I'm gonna see if I can.
There you go.
Say hello, Wade.
Hello, Wade.
Can you hear him?
Nice, I can hear you.
Awesome. Hell yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes
here to a certain extent.
I'm sorry. What? Say that again.
He said he can hear you to a certain extent, I think.
Nice.
Apparently, this isn't going to work out well.
Hold on.
We'll make it work, damn it.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure this out. I just got to get.
We just got to get it just
right
right.
on the laptop.
Right here.
Okay, here, bring this up to the side,
So,
and then it can pimple-lean there and still be right up next to the mic. Let's see if that improves.
Try saying something, Nathan.
The rain in Spain stays mainly on the plain.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure, yes. I think
there
so.
There we go. Got it.
Right.
Hell yeah.
I'm pretty impressed we figured this out.
Right.
This is
I don't need a
awesome.
second try at that.
So, when you were talking about, you know, that was before you were disillusioned with the founding document of the nation, I have to agree with you, man, because it's one of those things where when you grow up, you're taught that like this is the only nation that is ever, you know, given God-given rights to the people, and that everybody was free, and it's all a lie. There's tons of nations that have done
Until
this
you
all over the
discovered
world.
that asterisk fine print, this only applies to these people under these conditions, and fuck everybody else. And it's like, wait, excuse me?
Right. Exactly. Yes.
Like
yeah.
bubble burst on American exceptionalism. Like, it's bullshit.
That's why the entire system needs to be destroyed, is because regardless of how long you continue to go forward and go, well, but we need to include these people as well, and these people, and these people, there's always going to be the fascists that say, no, this isn't our tradition, and try to move us back 50 years. So bring the whole fucking thing down, man. Straight up. Honestly.
Especially when their whole basis for their argument is, I don't like how this person exists. And it's like, fuck you. Who cares how you feel about that? You know?
Exactly.
That doesn't belong codified into law, motherfucker.
Right. Yeah.
The notion of, oh, let's make this evil thing less evil. People have been doing that voting for the lesser of two evils thing for so long, and they haven't caught on yet.
For generations.
Fucking A, dude. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the lesser of two evils is still an evil, therefore why do it at all, you know?
Yep. When it's two heads of the same fucking monster. Come on now.
I really hate how much austerity and oppression is going to happen, how many people are going to have to lose their homes and their jobs, and
look at how many already are just in the last couple of years.
And it's going to take
just
that
since
many
the
more
eviction moratorium ended.
Yeah.
Right.
What is that? 30 to 40 million estimated fucking new homeless people under Joe Biden. And yet the Republicans are saying he's a fucking socialist. Are you kidding me?
Right.
No. Socialists build housing.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's funny because we're actually seeing projects like that happen in red areas where they're buying up hotels and turning them into housing for homeless people. And I'm like,
yeah, Phoenix. Well, Phoenix is a blue city, I guess, to be fair, but
sort
Arizona
of.
is
kind of
very
purple.
much a
purple state.
Yeah.
But it surprised me, and I'm like, okay, regardless of their other political views, I can get behind them being like, you know what, we need to help our community here, you know.
Yeah, when good is
spikes,
good, put it on a pedestal, man. Straight up, you know. Absolutely.
All right. It's like, find your fucking humanity and put it to use, people. We're supposed to be taking care of each other.
Exactly. That's the name of the game, is that we are going to have to take care of each other, because it's funny because even those on the right, you can get them to agree to a UBI all day long,
right,
as long as you say it correctly. If you're like, yeah, it's ridiculous that things that we can die without, we have to pay top dollar for, and therefore we don't have anything that actually enriches our lives because we're constantly struggling just to like stay warm and stay fed. You can get them to agree that that should be handed to people, especially if a government is going to limit their personal freedoms because of it. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
If you're gonna take my rights, pay me for it, motherfucker. Like, straight up.
No, there ain't an amount of money they can put on that, honestly.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't care how much money you have. If you don't have liberty, then, you know.
Yeah. I guess the way I'm saying it is it's the least they could do, and they won't even do that.
Right.
It's really fucked.
Agreed.
Unless they get you to sign over your life and body itself to the military, then they'll give you socialism.
Yeah.
You'll have housing, food, an expense account, basically.
The whole nine.
Yeah.
If it's so un-American to have these things, and it's so communist to have these things, then why is it promoted by our own military? Like, what the fuck? And
with
that's
signing bonuses. Yeah. They can get behind it for that. Why not for every other job?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Fuck. Come on now. It takes everything working together to keep shit moving when it comes to production, manufacturing, distribution, the whole fucking nine.
Yep.
That's called collaboration and taking care of your fucking community. It needs to be a two-way street there of what you're contributing. You're also getting an equal account right back, not this shit where someone else is exploiting it.
Right. And
taking
I don't think they understand that they're being exploited. Like if you have an entire community working together in order to achieve tasks, everyone is going to have to work a lot less to achieve those same means than people do at their 40-hour job each week. A lot less.
Precisely.
Yeah, a lot less time would be spent at work and a lot more time with their families and just living
actually
life.
living.
Yeah. And I don't think people get that yet. So
there's one more video that I want to show you guys. And Wade and Nate, this is probably before either of you came along. But we had on Will Wynn, who goes to, like Star Trek conventions and stuff in cosplay as the Star Trek communist. And he goes there and hands out communist literature and engages people on these subjects to obviously mixed reviews. But he was, our interview with him was not too long after he was featured on StarTrek.com.
Oh, damn. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. I'd also like to have him back. He was pretty fun as well. Yeah. But this is the last video I'm going to play for you guys tonight. But I think this is definitely another highlight from the last year.
Yes.
Oh, it might help if I unmute it, huh?
Yep.
Apologies for being a little late. Fatherhood waits for no one, but baby Liz on her way to dreamland, so that's good.
That's good. That's good.
Are you on the East? Are you on the West Coast?
I am in Arizona. Trisha, if she's able to rejoin the event, I think her tablet just bricked. But if she's able to rejoin the event, then she is in Michigan. I am in Arizona.
Okay.
Hence the sunlight behind me.
Sunlight, right. Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Thank you for coming on, honestly. I've been following you on Twitter for a while. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised that it wasn't already a thing being done.
Of just doing a stream, you mean?
No, I mean...
oh, my thing. Okay.
Yeah, your thing. I'm surprised it's not a bigger thing. There's a lot of people on the left who acknowledge that Star Trek has a lot of leftist undertones to it. Mm-hmm. So it's surprising that people haven't tried to, go to conventions, for example, and try to reach out to those people. I feel like you're organizing in a way that hasn't really been done, and that's awesome.
Well, I think, first off, I think thanks for having me on this your show, the platform, the stream. It's always a privilege, always an honor to be asked to kind of just opine. So, but also at the same time, try to organize real life too. And like you said, I think, I'm a little surprised too, but I think maybe not as surprised as some people in the sense that I think a lot of it had to do with the confluence of events. A confluence of factors, in the sense that people had to be open to more radical politics. I have always held that experience is the greatest teacher, right? And the collective experiences will do more to open people towards revolutionary politics than whatever anyone can kind of say to you or what have you. So we needed to kind of go through these events for people to be open to these types of radical politics. But at the same time, I think it just probably needed maybe just an accident or lucky design. Like I also happen to be, a huge Star Trek fan too. I also cosplay too. Like you need to have someone that was also equally a huge Star Trek dork, equally a huge Star Trek nerd, who is also an equally huge Marxist, equally huge communist, equally huge socialist. I view them as all the same because in fact, socialism is a transition stage between capitalism and communism. But you also need someone that was open about, wearing the hammer and sickle, defending it, not wearing it ironically, not wearing it just to be edgy, but understand why is this symbol still resonant? Why are the ideas of the Communist Manifesto of communism still resonant, right? Have actually someone kind of really believe in those types of things, explain it to people, but also kind of connect it to Star Trek too. So you need almost someone that kind of was equal parts both. If they couldn't fake being a Marxist, couldn't fake being a huge Star Trek nerd, had to be the both, right? Almost equal parts. And as corny as it sounds, like actually being a Marxist made me a better Star Trek fan and vice versa, in the sense that I learned to accept things in Star Trek because it's Star Trek, because it's a commercial property at the end of the day. But at the same time, it's a commercial property that asks some interesting questions. But it's not perfect. How can it be? It's very contradictory. But you can kind of use your fandom to explain certain things. And like, I used to be the type of fan that used to obsess about canon and minutia. Now I'm just like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, you have fun with it, right? And I have fun with it by also being able to use it to explain to people, like, yeah, how do we get to that Star Trek future? Certainly not through capitalism. How do we get there, right? So I think it was just events.
Yeah. So speaking of events in the Star Trek universe, I'm sure you're familiar with the Bell Riots episode. I don't think that's what it was called, actually, but I'm sure you're familiar.
Past tense, parts 1 and 2, but yeah, I know.
Okay, yeah. That's... I just rewatched that actually the other day, so when you messaged me today saying that was a good place to start, I was just like, well, good.
Right.
But we're not far off from how they predicted 2024 looking. We don't have sanctuary zones because the United States is a sanctuary zone.
Yeah. So I think in a lot of ways, I don't know your familiarity with Star Trek Universe, what have you. Past tense is always a great place for people to watch it. It's a great episode of Star Trek. Episode of Deep Space Nine, my personal favorite TV show, Star Trek show, although I love them all, really. And yes, you're exactly right. It's one of those things that was written in like 1995 that was thought about like, ooh, it's going to be somewhat in the distant future, 2024. This is going to be so far-fetched. And yet, not only is it far-fetched, it's actually, in a way, how it's portrayed, actually portrays a little bit of liberal naivete. And I love past tense, and I love that episode, that two-parter. But it also betrays a certain liberalism where, spoiler alert, hopefully for people that are watching this, I'm going to spoil the episode. But basically at the end, right, the solution that Gabriel Bell, aka Cisco, has is we just need to let the world know what's going on in the sanctuary districts. And once people know that it's really bad, then things will start to change. Right. And that was like the whole thing. We just need to get our message out to the net. We'll get it out there. And once the things will change. And if only it was that easy, if only that's all it took for people to kind of find out how bad things are. Now, of course, fast forward to now, 2021, we know that's not the truth. There are many people that are fully aware of what's going on. That are not ignorant of what's going on. The people that want to change it and people that don't want to change it are people that just are too numb to it. And nothing changes, right? So the question is not about knowing something's bad or not. It's not about appealing to, the oppressor's conscience, which is kind of the other angle of the episode. Was like, we just got to call the governor and we got to tell the governor what's up, and he'll stop it, right? Almost laughable in its naivete, right? But at the same time, I think it's still a useful episode in a lot of ways because the parallels are just so mind-numbingly obvious. They're just staring you in its face. If someone made this show now, they're like, wow, that's too on the nose, right? But it just shows you like that in and of itself, that this is something that would be the natural state of where capitalism will take you. And Star Trek will give you a good example of like, okay, we can get to that better future, but it never shows you how, right? It just kind of skates by to say like, well, people got to figure it out, and people just got to know more about bad things, and we'll somehow, talk our way out of it. Whereas for me as a Marxist, I would explain to get to that Star Trek future of post-scarcity, it's not a question about appealing to the oppressor. It's a question about class dynamics, the class struggle itself, right? That's how you get to that Starfleet future, the Star Trek future, But that episode, regardless of its liberal intent, it's still a useful setting to explain certain things to people.
Might help if I unmute.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I guess before I talk too much about what he was saying, I want to give a shout out to Trisha's phone acrobatics.
Yeah, that was fun trying to log back in on my phone because it wasn't holding signal with my tablet, and I was just frustrated if you couldn't tell from where my face froze. Like,
yeah.
Oh.
I just followed him on Twitter, so that's
yeah.
Awesome. He's definitely right about what he says there, though, of the idea of, oh, we just have to get the word out and then things will change. That's true. It takes more than public outcry. It takes public action, and
right.
we need a lot more of that. And unfortunately, we're probably not going to get that until, like you guys were talking about, the 40 million people that are about to be homeless thanks to the moratorium. You know, it's going to take that level of stuff before things start to change. And then I wanted to talk for a minute. He talked about post scarcity, because right now we have manufactured scarcity. Of course, like we've got enough resources and food to feed everybody always, but we don't do it because of the profit motive. NASA just found out how to make food out of CO2. I don't know if you guys read that. This is from.
I haven't read the details, but I have seen the headline.
Yeah. So essentially, it's carbon dioxide. It's a carbon capture technology that then turns this thing into literally from air to like a flour-like substance, and it's comprised of. Let me find it real quick here. It's comprised from 50% protein, 5 to 10% fat, and 20 to 25% carbs. So we're literally going to be able to like feed people fucking literally out of thin air. And of course, it's already talking about being commodified and being put into things like weight loss shakes and shit like that. And it's like, dude, you got to be kidding me right now. Like that's why as much as I love the idea that, you know, we can vote our way out of this, I don't think that that's possible at this point. The corporations are too big. They have way too much of a foothold into everything, including media. Enough of a foothold that people still believe that, oh, they can just vote this away, you know? So anyway, just wanted to say that briefly. But I did start following Boomer Niner on
I meant to ask him where that fucking Twitter handle came from.
Yeah. That's kind of cool. I dig it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, if we okay, so like, fast forward a little bit. Star Trek Discovery, the season finale from the previous season. There was a capitalist, basically, that was trying to do trade with the Federation, which was in ruins due to an event called the Burn. You're going to have to watch the show to get the context. But anyway, the point is the Federation was in a very weak state, and this quite strong capitalist comes up and offers them an alliance, and they won't fucking do it.
Because she's a capitalist.
Unless she is held accountable for the exploitation of her people, they will not work with her.
Based.
Yep.
And on top of that, like, the Admiral brought out a tray of food, right? It was a fruit tray. It had like apple slices and stuff on it. And she's just like, oh, but this, you know, this replicated apple doesn't taste as good as the real thing. And then he's like, Right, but we make this of our waste. It's pretty good for shit.
Literally, yeah. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, but it's still food, you know? Like, this is what we have to do. And to be honest, we're going to have to look at different ways of doing things, like what NASA's doing right now with the whole food out of carbon dioxide. We've got too much CO2 in the atmosphere as it is. It's responsible for like all the crap going on right now, including an F5 in freaking Illinois. You know, like it's one of those things where you just go, how much more is going to have to happen before you realize that, like, you know, shit needs to change. It's not like most of us are living outlandish lifestyles that are putting things into jeopardy in the first place, you know. And that's another way, just like the whole thing of the illusion of democracy and the illusion of voting. Um, these these corporations, these companies, literally sat there and said, "How do we get the people to feel bad about what it is that they buy, and think that they need to do something on their own, instead of taking the blame for themselves when they're the ones that are pushing out all of the carbon and creating all of the plastics and all of that shit, you know?"
Well, yeah, and I mean, not to mention that, like, every day we slip more and more towards eco-fascism. You know, like, we're trying to put the blame on the consumers, like the U.S. military isn't the biggest polluter in the fucking world.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
But going back to what you had...
Hold on, what
were you going to say, Wade?
I said, as far as food goes, it's not like we're not already producing enough to feed 10.5 billion people. So wasting most of it, or throwing it into places like that guy that sprinkles the salt on his arm and charges outrageous prices for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Thrown away after that.
Yeah. And I mean, as someone who works in the restaurant industry, I can fucking testify to how much food every restaurant throws away.
Waste. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When I was working for Darden restaurants, we threw everything away at night. Everything was cooked fresh the next day, and literally just chucked it all in the dumpster. And then of course there's corporations like Walmart where they're not even allowed to have an open dumpster because somebody might get sick, and so all of that stuff gets thrown away. You know, I think it was France that finally did away with that law and said that food needs to be reused when it's, you know, when it's past the sell by date, it still needs to be, you know, used. And it's like, yeah, absolutely it does. Certainly it does. Someone will eat it. I mean, hell, in jail you get green bologna. I'm pretty sure that's past its freaking date too, but we ate it.
Right.
So, but yeah.
Yeah.
Wild stuff, man.
It's one of those things, like, if there's stuff that you would throw away, you should actually just be packing that up in to-go containers with, like, you know, a set of plastic silverware and some napkins, and handing that out to the homeless as you guys leave work. Fuck. Come on now.
Yeah. Yeah, for real. Yeah. Absolutely that.
Even put a fucking sign up that says, you know, between this time and that time, these specific foods that are left over from the day are free.
That's a perfect idea. Whole fucking A, that's a perfect idea right there. That's, if I had a restaurant, I would definitely want to implement something like that for sure. Like, hey, come inside, have a meal. If you don't have funds, that's fine. We've got these that are left over from the last rush. They're free. Come take them.
Right.
You know, straight up.
Especially when you can do that multiple times per day if you're doing breakfast, lunch, and dinner, different things on the menu, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially if you're like, you know, Village Inn or, you know, IHOP or one of those things that does all day type things.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. That's a lot of food that's going to be wasted otherwise. So
yeah.
totally.
But the way things are written up, the way things are designed, there's litigation mitigation that they have to consider, and there's the insurance companies, which, let's face it, insurance is holding our country hostage.
Yeah,
absolutely. Especially when it comes to, medications and actual health. I don't think people understand. They think that healthcare is insurance, and it's like, no, healthcare is like
No.
you and your doctor. Healthcare is you actually like, leading a good lifestyle. Health insurance is nothing. It's just a ruse to make you believe that you absolutely need it. What you need is health care. And it's something
Yep.
that
Right.
is, put behind, like we talked about earlier, it's behind lock and key, it's behind paywalls. So,
Everything is behind paywalls anymore.
Yeah. Everything.
And I
Literally.
mean, we warned about that with like prior to the fall of net neutrality, there was Netflix,
Right.
And then after that, there was Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, fucking Hulu. Well, Hulu's been around for a long time too, but you get the point. Like,
Right.
Everything is a subscription service now. Your music, your movies, your TV shows, fucking this program that we're using to stream to all of you.
Really makes
all
you
of
miss
it.
the pirate
Everything
bay.
is a subscription.
Yeah. Yeah, literally. You basically have a subscription for life itself. Your education's behind a paywall, your housing's behind it, your food, your medicine. I wouldn't doubt. Well, in a way, it kind of is. Even religion, organized religion, at least, is also behind the paywall.
10% off the top before taxes.
Yeah. Yeah. Give your seeds, people. You just got to seed more. That's all. Just more money. It's wild. It's it's one thing to say we need a reset, but it's another thing to say that we don't necessarily need a reset, but a way forward. We need a way past
a revolution.
Exactly, brother. Exactly. But
that being said, we probably should start wrapping it up because Kwame's book reading is in 5 minutes.
I was going to say, yeah, it's coming.
And I know that we all want to be there for that. If you go to our Facebook page, which we are not streaming to currently, so that's kind of funny. But anyway, if you go to our Facebook page, I will reshare the link for Kwame's Zoom meeting. And we will be recording our interview with him tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty excited for that. We were hoping to have him on before he started doing the book readings, but shit happens. Timing, yeah, exactly. It was bad for both of us, so it just didn't happen.
He seems really down to earth, so I can't wait for this. This will be cool. But thank you guys very much for having me. Thank you all for viewing. I had a lot of fun. And
thank you, Wade, for calling in.
Yeah. Thank you, Wade. And happy Insurrection Day.
Yes, happy Insurrection Day to you too.
Have a good one.
Sorry. There we go.
There we go.
Make sure to tune in tomorrow for our Emma Goldman theory stream. Yeah, I think that's all I got. You got anything else?
Not that I can think of, other than tomorrow. See you next Tuesday. We'll be back then for current events.
Power to the people.
Fucking A.
We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents. Just don't worry about it. Learn how to use what